Hello, lovelies, and welcome to this episode of The Happy Psychic. I am your host, your guiding light, Gemma Lonsdale. And in this episode, I don't have a guest, so you're stuck with me for first things. And really, what I wanted to get through was I have a gentleman who has stepped forward in spirit. I have no affiliation to this man, but I really wanted to try something a little bit different with the podcast. And I'm trying to do a little bit, more collective, readings for the collective and put things like that on YouTube, make them available in the newsletter, put them on the website. I love doing readings. That's really what I really enjoy. I love connecting with spirit. I love bringing information through. I love interviewing people. I love having, spiritual conversations, but I wanted to really just do something that was a little bit different this week. And I asked Spirit what they wanted to do. I asked them if they had any specific suggestions over what they should do. And they actually wanted to bring through some spiritual guidance for the collective. But this gentleman first connected to me just a few days ago whenever I started having the idea of, okay, what can I do with the podcast? What can I do that's a bit different? And whenever he came through to me, I know he's a very important person. He's very professional looking, like how he presents himself to me. He's coming through dressed in this, suit, like he has a pocket watch. He's very, very smart, takes his presentation, extremely seriously. He's a rounder faced gentleman, and I'm not saying that he's fat. He's saying that he takes offense at such language. So, and I'm not, he doesn't look fat, but he's well built. He's sturdy built. That's how he's just described himself. He's a sturdy person. But he's definitely not sort of presenting himself as like a slender, man that's really into his physique or anything. But appearance was important, and for some reason it's like he has this round face and then these sort of glasses. I can see that he is wearing glasses. He's just taking them off to clean them there, so I know that he is wearing glasses. So first things first, if you are not used to my readings, you will be aware that sometimes, especially if I'm in a private reading or a one-to-one reading, I sometimes sort of look away, or I look down, or I look to something else. That's just because with my vision, my clairvoyance, I actually see spirit easier, and I see the symbolisms and things like that easier whenever I look away. In most cases, I will see things in my mind's eye. Sometimes I will see things in front of me, but in most cases I will see them in my mind's eye. Okay, so it just, if I start to divert my gaze or anything like that away from the camera, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, then that is why I'm doing that during the reading, because it'll just help me concentrate and bring the information through a little bit easier. Now this man, I know he's very, very eager to kick things off because he's tapping his microphone. So let's just see what it is that he really wants to bring through. Okay, right, this is interesting. First of all, so he's actually said that he is a spokesperson who is connected to Jesus, and he's showing me somebody carrying a cross just to confirm that he has said Jesus to me. So I know that he has some connection to Jesus in some way, and what he's actually looking to bring forward are some teachings. That's what he's referring them to, and he doesn't want to divulge too much at this stage, but he says that he does want to bring through a little bit that is going to help people lead better and more fulfilling lives, really. And what he's showing me are stepping stones, and he's saying that this is the first of many to come. So I know that it's probably one of those like laying the foundations for maybe other information that he'll bring through. Although he has always said, he's saying that it's not always going to be him who will be bringing the information through. He is showing me that there are a collection of other people as well that are very keen to bring information through. Now, the first thing that he is referring to is diet and nutrition, and he is showing me, I'm seeing this big wicker basket full of like fresh fruit and vegetables and things that have come from the ground. A farmer has been out, picked it, sold it to a shop, or is trying to sell it to a shop, but as he's picking them up, he's just made this awful face, because whenever he's looking at them, and I've just seen a worm crawling out from something, but it's like it's rotted, like he can put his finger straight through that piece of fruit. So I know that these fruit and vegetables that have been lovingly grown and picked, and he's talking specifically about Mother Earth here as well, and the energy and the effort that it takes from Mother Earth to actually grow these vegetables and these fruits. And he's said that we're favoring like fast food, and he's showing people like eating a slice of pizza and eating like deep fried chicken and things like that. And he's saying that he would really discourage it, and then he's sort of taking a bit of a stronger stance on it, and he's saying like needs to stop, and he's stamping his foot, so we really need to put like a stop to it. He's saying about the importance of nutrition, and he's talking about hair and nails, our body functions, and how important everything is, and it depends on nurturing food going into our body. And I love my food. I can't pretend that I'm not a lady that doesn't like enjoy eating. I do. I love it, and I don't always eat the right things, although I try. But I can recognize that it is hard on occasions in the society that we have, when fast food and greasy food and quick fixes, processed food, instant things, they're so easily available. And a lot of us have sort of really come away from the art of preparing and cooking food. And I guess I'm lucky in that respect, because that's one of the big things that I enjoy. I love preparing food. I love cooking stuff from scratch. I love, replicating even like things from like a Chinese restaurant or the Indian restaurant. Thai food, whatever it might be. I love replicating that at home and cooking like a fresh version. I can be quite adventurous, I would say, with my cooking on occasions. But how some people play the piano by ear, I generally cook by my intuition. I'm like an intuitive cook. I couldn't call myself a chef. I'm not trained or anything like that, but I do have this intuitive sense of what goes together and how things should come. It's very rare that I would follow a recipe, but we've really lost the art of cooking and preparing our food and eating with others around a dinner table, something that has been lovingly prepared. And he is also saying about we underestimate the value of actually preparing our food from an energy perspective, because whenever we're preparing our own food and we're putting our own energy and intentions into that, whether we've grown it ourselves or not, that it doesn't mean that we can't still put our energy and intention into it whenever we are actually cooking it. So whenever we're stood over that stove and we're stirring the pot and we're chopping those onions and whatever it might be, that is us putting our intention into it, which enhances the nutrition. So that's just something really for you to think about. When you buy something from a packet, or you have something from like the takeaway, like you get takeout pizza, whatever it might be, it doesn't really have the same nutritious value. You think of any pizza shop that you have been in, they're generally, really rushed. McDonald's, like any fast food place, they tend to be working very, very quickly. So they don't put the same love and intention into it. That energy is being put into your food as it's being produced, and then you're ingesting that. So we're ingesting the vibrations. So it's just something else to think about. And really the whole food chain, the source of where our food comes from and how it gets into the fast food restaurant or into the grocery store, into our kitchen, that all has an impact. So it's good to be a wee bit more mindful. But the main point really that he was looking to bring through is that nutrition is very, very important for our overall health, really, like our overall, even our mood. He said about how uplifted our mood can be if we're eating fresh food and we're eating stuff that we have prepared ourselves. Now he's actually made quite a bold claim, and he has said that it does have the power to stamp out cancer. So I know that he has a very strong belief. It's well, he said, I'm just going to say it, like, it's accurate information, and anything that Spirit tell me, I believe in 100%. And he is saying that it's accurate information. It's been proven. So obviously Spirit can see a lot more than what we can. And he's saying that the food that we eat can really prevent a lot of these illnesses that we're falling down with. I'm a cancer survivor myself. So twice, I'm a two-time cancer survivor myself. And I do appreciate the sentiment that actually what we put into our body does have an impact on where our life leads. So, eating a really, a fresh diet of prepared food, food that's come from the ground, less meat, more fruit and vegetables, less processed stuff, less things that have additives in it. And that is really what they would encourage. He's also bringing in about fresh water. And he's saying that we don't really have anywhere near enough water going through our bodies as what we should. And the amount of water is that we do put in, from other drinks like sodas and things like that, it's all watered down with so much sugar and, additives and different chemicals. And, he again is really just encouraging more just water, just squeeze a lemon, squeeze of orange juice, whatever you might want to freshen it up, but try and keep it natural, try and keep it natural, and don't be having too many things that again are processed, like, your sodas and, squash, things like that, orange squash, cordials. So that is one of the things. Another thing that he has just brought in there, and I have noticed myself actually slipping back into the habit. I used to be a very big coffee drinker. I used to drink a lot of coffee, thick black coffee as well. And that is really one of the things that Spirit have been working with me to stamp out. And I very rarely would have a coffee these days, and they really discourage it. And I'm not fully aware of the reasons why, but they do give me the poison sign, and they say poisonous. So I know that there is something, it's not necessarily poisoning us the same way as what, formaldehyde would, but there must be something in that coffee that really isn't doing us justice, and that is having a negative impact on our body. And keep in mind that Spirit can see, a lot more than what we can, but there is something in the coffee that is making them think this is not good. So that is one thing that they would really discourage as well. So I try to focus on like herbal teas. Everybody has like different things that they like. Pukka is my favorite brand, and ginger, I love ginger tea. So sometimes I'll make my own fresh with like fresh ginger and a squeeze of lemon in it. But apart from that, it's really that and water that I drink, and the occasional hot chocolate and coffee. But we can't be, well, I'm not saying that we can't be 100% on it all of the time and being very careful. Of course we can, that is possible, but it is harder, it's difficult in the society that we live in as well, especially when we have these taste buds. And I do enjoy like going to Starbucks for a hot chocolate every now and again. And I actually didn't used to drink hot chocolate. I swapped coffee for hot chocolate. So I'm not sure that I've swapped it necessarily for the best thing. But I don't eat the hot chocolate in the same amount of quantity as what I used to drink the coffee. But yeah, coffee is something that they definitely don't like. Another thing he's just actually mentioning there with the coffee, but he's also linking it back to our diet and nutrition, is that whenever we're eating the wrong things, it lowers our vibration. So if you're finding yourself on a spiritual path or on a journey of self-healing, really the last thing you want to do is lower your vibration. You want to be heightening your vibration. You want to be increasing it. You want to, rise it up a little bit. And it's not always easy to do. And we don't always make the best choices for ourselves. But, what we eat can actually have a very big impact on our vibration and actually where we go. What else does he want to talk about? Right, he said about news, and he's sitting on the sofa and he's watching television and he's flicking through the television and he's saying rubbish. And I know that there's things. He said, on occasion, he has no issue with like us watching films and things like that. There's no concern, but there's such a big chunk of stuff where I'm laughing. I will explain to you what he's showing me. But There are so many things that we watch on television that are really not good for us. And he's saying that it's almost like polluting our minds and lowering our vibration as well. And he's talking about the negativity and the negative things. Now, one of the things, I'm not sure if you have it elsewhere in the world, but I know it's a thing in the UK, and it's called Love Island. And it's all these gorgeous people are put on like an island, and all sorts of lots of different amorous things and whatnot happen. But it's a reality TV show. So he's showing me that. So that's one of the things. I've just seen like a woman stood in a bikini, like in this sort of funny pose. But that's one of the things that he's bringing in. He has said about watching news as well. Like if we're watching the news on a regular basis, he's actually discouraging that. He said he wouldn't advise it or he wouldn't encourage it. He's actually taken the television off the wall, and he's showing me like a large skip or a large landfill site where all the televisions are just being thrown, and he's saying that he wouldn't have televisions in every room. He does not like this for games consoles and things like that. He just does not agree with it. He's saying that it has a really detrimental impact on communication. It's actually, he's saying that it has a detrimental impact on how we function, on our brain function. He's saying that it impacts on our sleep patterns and how our body regulates itself. So I know that there's a lot of offshoots here to the whole thing with watching television, reality TV, playing on games consoles. He has said about like on an occasion, like there's no concern, like cinema night with the family, and he's showing me everybody sitting with the popcorn watching, like Fast and the Furious. It literally is Fast and the Furious what he's showing me. And so Paul Walker has just stepped in. So I have connected to him a few times before whenever I've watched Fast and the Furious, and I watched a documentary about his life and he came through for that as well. And I do find that a lot with celebrities. If you're watching something about them, they do step forward and they quite like to be remembered. So that's just nice to have the hello from him. So there's no message or anything. He's handing it back over to this gentleman. And they've just sort of shaken hands, and Paul has snapped back. But yeah, movie nights, things like that, getting together with the family, like on an occasion, he says that's fine. But really he wants people to be, outdoors more often, use an outdoor space, out with the family, a little bit picnics outside if the weather permits as well. And actually, I'm saying if the weather permits, he's just shown me somebody on a picnic table or a picnic blanket underneath some shelter outside when it's raining. So I don't think that he says you're not going to dissolve, you're not made of sugar. So I know he's not really seeing a need to be spending time indoors just because it's raining. Get yourself a waterproof, get yourself outdoors anyway. He has said for the majority of us, we're not spending enough time outdoors. And he said that there's a lot of benefits to be had. There's a lot of healing energies outside, especially when we are in nature and we come into contact with Mother Earth. And he said that's why grounding is so important as well. And he's showing me somebody walking along on the grass with their socks and shoes off. So we don't always have to have our socks and shoes off to ground, by the way, but it definitely is beneficial to have that contact with the earth and to be walking barefoot or to be sitting, on the grass, even if it's on a blanket. So there are benefits to that as well. But he has said that nature is the greatest healer. Whenever it comes to mental health stuff, nature is really one of the greatest healers. That's the best antidepressant that you could ever have. So he is encouraging that. One of the other things that he's shown me as well is board games, and he said about like traditional board games, like getting family together, for games nights and things like that. He's actually saying that as families, as friends as well, if you're living in a house share rather than with family members, that we're not communicating efficiently. He's saying that the communication skills that we have really went downhill. And he said that it's very, very disappointing to watch how we struggle sometimes with communicating with each other. And that's really not what was intended. We were intended to communicate. And yes, some of us are more introverted. Some of us don't like to talk as much. Some of us are listeners. But there is a lot to be learned from communication when it comes to sorting out differences. And this is interesting, because he's shown me how important it is when it comes to sorting out differences and arguments and things like that. But he's showing me violence. And he's actually said that the amount of violence could be reduced if we actually had better communication skills and learned how to communicate properly, because he said that communication isn't just about us speaking. It's not about the words coming out of our mouth. It's not about how eloquent we are, how good our pronunciation is for certain words, the amount of words that we know from the dictionary. It's not about that. It's the art of being able to listen intently and understand what somebody's saying. That is what communication is. So it's understanding what that other person or those other people are saying, making sure that they feel heard, trying to put yourself into their shoes and being able to give a reasoned response. That's what he's really saying that communication is. It's not just about verbalizing your own thoughts and wishes. It's about being able to listen and to understand the other person as well. Okay. So he has brought that in. I'm just quite conscious of the time because I don't want this to run on, but he does. Oh, right. I have to talk about that, do I? He does have one other thing. He does have one other thing that has been brought up here. Now, I have been told this a few times, whenever I have been having discussions with various people in spirit, and circumcision. This has come up before, that circumcision is not God's wishes. And I am interested in what it says in the Bible about circumcision. But he's saying crossed wires. So there's something that has been misconstrued at some point, and then it has been carried on, obviously, for generations and generations. And he's saying about the foreskin being for protection, so it must be for some sort of protection, like the nerves and things like that. And he's saying it shouldn't be removed. So I know that it's really not the creator's wish, that it's not spirit's wish, source's wish, or whoever you want to really pinpoint it on. It's not something that they would encourage. This is turned out to be quite an amazing podcast, actually. Jesus has just stepped forward himself, and he has actually said that he has a few words. So let me just say this man is just handing the microphone over to him. I just want to say he's actually, this is lovely. So he isn't coming through with a message of guidance. So he's not actually coming through with any additional guidance for people. What he's saying is that he has a message of gratitude. And he's actually saying that he wants to thank all of his loyal followers. And he loves the fact that he's still remembered. And he is saying that whenever he was on the earth, that he never could have imagined that this was what would be ahead for him. So, and I don't know why I'm getting so emotional, but I'm assuming that that's maybe his emotions coming through, because he's quite a strong energy to connect with. And I have connected with him before, so this isn't the first time that I have actually connected with him, but it's the first time that he's actually come forward with a message. But he is saying that he's very, very grateful for people that are still following his teachings. And he has said that, some of them have been a little bit distorted, but for the most part, he recognizes that people's hearts are in the right place and that people are well-intentioned and want to do the right thing. And he's obviously pleased and delighted to be able to hand the torch over to the next person, and hope that, the lessons and things like that carry on. So really, it's just that he's grateful. He's grateful. And he's sort of bowed, and that's him off. So the other man is still here with me, but what he said is sufficient. So I know he doesn't feel the need to add anything else on there. But as I say, I just felt the need to do something different this week. And I knew that Spirit were really looking to come through with something different. And I knew that they had like a bit of a message and they wanted to start bringing some other things through. So whenever I suggested that we record this is what they said that they wanted to do. Now, I didn't know the content of today. I generally don't know that until I sit down to give the messages off. They don't really give me like a sneak preview or anything like that. Some of the conversations I'm familiar with because I've had them directly with Spirit myself on occasions, but I've not had an instance. Well, they didn't pre-warn me about the content for today, but I hope that you've all found that useful. And thank you very much for your time.